on this, who's the former deputy chief of mission at the Embassy of Israel. Dan, it's good to have you on the show today. I think the way Robert sets it up to me is interesting, and the right way to do it is that it seems like it is, I guess, a different day in some ways. This morning versus now, boy, what's going to happen? And now you take a deep breath, say, all right, so far so good. What's your impression of how the day has played out here since the ceasefire was struck last night?
Certainly, as Robert described it, is very dramatic, and moving from the bomb shelters and being sequestered and not being able to go out and just have your normal life. Then all of a sudden, everything is opening up: airspace, flights, transportation, schools, and shops and cafes. So it's a great change compared to the morning, or compared to 24 hours ago, when missiles were still dropping in Tel Aviv, and also when Israel was still attacking in Tehran. So absolutely, there's a lot of hope. And as your correspondent has said, there's, the key here is sustainability of the ceasefire. Right now, both sides are adhering to it, and hopefully this will continue in the future, as we see that President Trump is personally involved in enforcing it himself. And we saw that Israeli planes were on the way to Iran this morning, and he kind of called Netanyahu, and Netanyahu had to, have the planes make a U-turn and return to Israel and not conduct the attack that they were planning. So, we've got a lot in store, but right now it's a good start.
Yeah, let me go back to that for just a moment, because, obviously there's a lot of attention because the president's use of profanity, which we did play that one clip at the end. Okay, but I watched the whole thing there, and you would expect a president of the United States to be frustrated with an adversary like Iran. But it was clear to me in watching it, I don't know what your impression was, his frustration, if you were ranking it, was more so with Israel. It seemed obvious. He kept going back to it over and over. Just one more clip from the president on the South Lawn earlier today before he left for NATO. Here's more of what he said.
I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either.
See, right, speaking straight to quote-unquote Israel, obviously Netanyahu. What'd you make of all that?
So I think, we may be making too much of it, but I think the bottom line here is that, Trump put his entire prestige on the line, weight of the presidency. He called it yesterday the 12-day war. Imagine if it would go on another day, that would make it the 13-day war, and that's not what he called it. So basically, he's invested in it deeply, and he wanted to see this go, sail through and go through successfully, and expressing his frustrations. And you see also he's a transactional president in the sense that he wants to get things done. He's doing these deals. He wants to move on to the next thing. So this was kind of an interruption to his what he got yesterday, and that's what he was voicing, him being upset over. But I don't think that we should read too much into it beyond that.
Okay, then what would you say then about Netanyahu and how he handles this going forward? As you know, if people are being critical of the prime minister, oftentimes they'll say, well, he just wants to keep fighting, whether it's in Gaza or against Iran, to stay in power. And that's his incentive. I've heard that over and over again for the last couple of years. What about now?
Netanyahu was able to resurrect himself through this war. And now he's getting this boost in the polls, and people support him from all walks of life in Israel. So for him, it's an opportunity to kind of rewrite the narrative and rewrite his legacy. And for him also, leaning on the achievements of the IDF and degrading Iran's nuclear program, destroying half of its ballistic missile program, and so on, allows him to move on perhaps to other more burning issues, like maybe ending the war in Gaza, which I think can also be a high point. And then there are rumors that he's thinking about going to elections, something that was we could not even imagine just a week or 2 weeks ago. So this is he's certainly managed to strengthen his image, his leadership, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, we will. Dan, thank you. Dan ARBELL with us.